YouTube, hey there, it's Casey Dimon, TaxSaleAcademy.com. Thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode of the Tax Sale Podcast. As always, if you enjoy listening to the podcast, make sure you check us out by going to TaxSalePodcast.com, where you can download us on your favorite podcasting platform and you can listen on the go. Let's go ahead, switch on over, and record the audio portion right now. Welcome to the Tax Sale Podcast, where tax sale investing is made easy. My name is Casey Dimon. I'm a tax sale veteran. I am the leading tax sale expert. I'm the author of the Tax Sale Playbook. I'm the founder of the Tax Sale Academy, and I am your host right here on the Tax Sale Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast episode. This is a completely free podcast brought to you through and because of the Tax Sale Academy. If you are looking to learn more about investing in tax defaulted real estate, you can do so by heading to TaxSaleAcademy.com. So, over the years, I've noticed a very common problem among brand new tax sale investors. And that is that they simply are not confident enough to ever get started in this business. Now, if I'm honest, I remember when I first got into the tax sale business and I had zero confidence myself. Walking into that first auction was terrifying, but at least I made it that far, which is much farther than many others who lack the confidence to even go to an auction in the first place. And that's really a shame. They learn about this opportunity through tax defaulted real estate. They get excited, and then they get overwhelmed, and they never pull the trigger. Much of this is attributed to never gaining that necessary confidence to actually start. Nobody wants to lose money. And that's obviously the biggest risk in any investment you're going to make. And that is the biggest deterrent for a lot of brand new investors. You should absolutely not get into this business if you are not confident in your abilities. Plain and simple. Otherwise, you're going to make bad mistakes. Now, there's a difference between being a little bit nervous or excited and not having any confidence when it comes to knowing what you're doing, which should be a huge red flag to you that you are not yet ready to start. So what I wanted to do today in this episode is provide you with 5 steps to gaining the confidence necessary to get started as a new tax sale investor, to get the confidence that will allow you to continue your excitement, to pull the trigger, to gain that momentum that will potentially change your life. So let's go over them in order. The first step to gaining confidence as you enter the tax sale business is to take it slow. This is not a race. You must understand this is a long-term, sustainable business. This is not a get-rich-quick business. If you approach this business where you're supposed to be making loads of money in a week or even a month, the fact is you probably should never get into this business because that will not happen. I've told this story before, but I had a student in the Tax Sale Academy who joined the academy, went through all of my trainings, all the new trainings I would post were watched right away by this student. They would ask questions, went to auctions even, but she did not make a single investment for an entire year. And then when she did, she knocked it out of the park with her first tax sale investment. So she sat back and just absorbed all she could. She took her time for an entire year, which is a lot longer than most people take, but it took her an entire year before she got that first property, and she just knocked it out of the park. Then the second property followed a very short time later, and that was also a home run. At this point, she's a full-time tax sale investor, which is all she does, and she does quite well at it. Now, much of her success can be attributed to the fact that she did not rush the process. She didn't force herself to invest in something just because she thought she was supposed to. Instead, she did everything that I teach, everything that I'll discuss here, and she did it until she was comfortable, until she was confident. Yes, some people might have success very, very quickly, but understand, others will take a while, and that's okay. Everybody is different. As you enter this business, be patient. Take it slowly. Do not invest your hard-earned money in a rushed fashion. I highly encourage you to take it slow. That will really help with your confidence in the long run. The next thing that you must understand is that investing in tax defaulted real estate is something you must invest the time to learn how to do properly. I see so-called investors every single day losing their tail in this business. These same investors don't have a clue what they are doing. They think they do, but they don't. They only learn about the surface level type stuff. A few years ago, I remember having a conversation with an auctioneer that I knew quite well. And we were talking about the investors that come and go. He said, you know what? It's funny. Every year we see a handful of the same folks buying properties, and they've been doing it sometimes for decades, presumably because they're successful, of course. But we also see countless people who will come for one or two auctions, and we never see them again. They have high hopes, but they end up losing money and getting out of this business as quickly as they got into it. Unfortunately, this all comes down to learning what you are doing. It is paramount to your success that you know what you're doing. Despite how easy it might seem, there is plenty of steps that you must take to ensure that you are successful in this business. Take the time to learn about the tax sale laws related to the areas where you are investing. Take the time to learn how to properly research properties, which we'll be discussing here in a second. Take the time to learn how to market properties. Learn all the different disciplines involved in becoming a tax sale investor before you go out and start buying properties. If you want to become a strong, confident investor, you must know everything possible about this business. The ones who don't take the time to learn what they're doing usually are the same ones that lack confidence. They start buying properties, they start losing money, and they exit this business as quickly as they got into it. So make sure you take the time to properly learn about every single aspect of this business before you get into it. If you do that, I guarantee you that your confidence levels will increase dramatically, and you'll start gaining the momentum you need to see tax sale success. Another way to boost your confidence dramatically is by practicing your research. The results of every single investment you make in this business will hinge on how good your research was prior to buying that property. Now, what happens is when we see a property on a tax sale list, we're seeing that property for the very first time, and we know nothing at all about that property until we begin researching it. And then we have all this data that we pulled from the internet that helps us make a decision on if we should purchase the property and how much we should pay for it. And that's fine if you have an idea what you're doing, if you have some sort of experience, if you know how to best utilize the research tools at your disposal, and if you know exactly what you're looking for. But what I suggest here is that while you are learning how to research properties, you start off with properties that you are familiar with first. Maybe it is the house that you live in right now. Perhaps it's a family member's house or a friend's home. Maybe it's the building you work in or a house you drive by every single day. Whatever it is, dig up all the details on that property that you are somewhat familiar with. Get the dirt. Learn the history. Use what you know because of your familiarity with that property, because of what you can see with your own two eyes as the foundation for your research. And then combine that with the text and the other data that you are seeing online. The entire purpose of this exercise is to combine your online data with the actual data that you see in the field and that you're familiar with. And you put all the missing pieces together. And once you're comfortable researching properties that you are familiar with, it'll help you gain the confidence necessary to actually researching tax sale properties you're thinking about investing in. So practice your research, a great way to help build confidence. The next way to gain confidence is through practicing your investing. So in the stock market, there's a term called paper trading. There's a number of actual programs that you can do this with, but it's basically like monopoly money. You'll buy and sell stocks, and the system tracks you. They see how you did without actually investing any real money. It's extremely popular for new stock market investors. Now, as tax sale investors, we can actually do this ourselves. The results of previous tax sales are public record, and most of them are very easily accessed on the county's websites. So my suggestion here is to go back and get a copy of prior auction results, maybe from 6 months ago or 12 months ago. Block the winning bid amounts so you have no idea what was paid for those properties. White them out or block them on your screen, whatever you have to do, block those numbers out so you don't know what they are. And then go back and research those properties as if you were going to invest in those properties. Write down your maximum bid amounts, dig through public records, do everything that you would have done as if you were investing in that property. And then go ahead and look at the winning bids for those properties. Compare your maximum bid amounts to the winner's bid amounts to see how you would have done. After that, go through and choose a few of the properties and follow up on those properties. See what happened to them as far as the sales history. Or maybe some have sold already. Maybe some are on the market. Maybe some have not even entered the market yet. Whatever it is, go through all these properties and see what you can learn from this experience. You also need to compare your maximum bid amount to the successful bidder's amount at the time, and then see if you need to make any adjustments. If your maximum bid amount was 500% above somebody else's max bid, either you found a diamond in the rough, or more likely, you made a mistake somewhere. Likewise, if you wouldn't have placed a bid on something at all and it ended up selling for $500,000, you probably missed something while doing your research. So go back and trade a few tax sale properties to see how you would have performed. Then use that same approach with current auctions. Research properties, write down your maximum bid amounts, create your bidder spreadsheets, and actually go and attend auctions. You can even register for these auctions if you want to. But don't go with the intention to buy properties at these auctions. Instead, go with the intention to learn. Sit in the room or in front of the computer and watch the auction as it unfolds. I've given this advice to many people over the years, and it is one of the biggest things that you can do to boost your confidence. It is one of the pieces of advice that I get the most feedback from people telling me, hey, I went to an auction and I'm really glad I did. I hear from people all the time that they were glad they went. If you do this, it's going to be a huge confidence boost for you. So take the time to practice, attend auctions without the purpose of buying anything, and allow that to be an experience that you absorb everything you can to help you learn about that process. Again, it's really going to boost your confidence. And lastly, if you want to boost your confidence and you're ready to begin and you want to have momentum moving forward, make sure you start out with a guaranteed win. And this might take some time and some patience, and that's okay. But the absolute worst thing you can do as you get into this business is lose money on your first deal. You should never get into any deal unless it's an absolute win. A common issue that many new investors have is they put themselves on some sort of schedule or artificial timeline. They tell themselves that they should be buying something, that they are missing out. They get FOMO, for lack of a better term, and then they force themselves into an investment that no one, especially a beginner, should be making. They lose money. They have countless issues and hurdles that they must face, and then suddenly they have lost all confidence in the tax sale business solely because of a poor decision that they made. Your first investment should be a sure thing. Your first investment should be an easy thing. If it's not a 100% guaranteed profitable purchase that requires minimal effort, then you shouldn't get into it. Make that first investment an easy and profitable one. Now, even if it does not make you $10 million like some people think you should make off your first deal, that's okay. Make some cash, gain some experience, use that to increase your momentum, to build your confidence, and then move on to the next property. So there it is, 5 ways to boost your confidence as a new tax sale investor. Commit to taking it slow. Commit to learning everything possible about this business. Practice your research over and over again. Practice investing through paper-type trades and make 100% certain that your first deal is a guaranteed win. If you do this, I can guarantee you that your confidence will grow tremendously, that you'll be prepared to invest, and that your momentum necessary to propel you to tax sale success will definitely be there. Listen, I hope that this episode has helped you to gain the confidence necessary as a new tax sale investor. I hope this episode has taught you those steps that you need to take if you are lacking confidence right now. My goal is to help educate as many future and current tax sale investors as possible in whatever way that I can. And I truly hope that I'm able to play just a very, very small role in your quest for tax sale success. If we can provide any additional help, be sure to visit the links in the show notes section. One of those links, of course, will take you to our primary site at taxsaleacademy.com, where we provide our most in-depth and comprehensive tax sale investment training. Now, if you have found any value in this episode or any of our episodes here on the Tax Sale Podcast, please do me a huge personal favor and leave a positive review for us on whatever podcasting platform you're listening to us on right now. It really makes a huge difference in the rankings of this podcast. And we also enjoy you letting us know that we're able to provide just a little bit of help and motivation for you on your quest for tax sale success. And in turn, those feedbacks continue to provide that motivation for us to produce many more episodes of this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time right here on the Tax Sale Podcast. Make it a successful day. See ya.